All right, so I see you guys all got that. Great job. You've now coded in Go. There are a couple of great questions, so let's start with Jeremy.
Is there any sort of like uppercase, lowercase rules?
So Jeremy is asking about naming conventions, which allows me to start talking about documentation. So Golang.org is the official website of the Go programming language. And under documents, you can find some cool documentation. Some of the main documents that we use, two of the main documents that we use for understanding the Go language and how do we use it. One of them is the Golang language specification. So language specification right here. Okay? And the other one is effective Go right there. So those are two main sources to go to. And the reason I kind of hesitated when I was at this website is because usually I just say Golang spec, right? The Golang specification, there's the Golang specification. But you could also get to that same document by going to Golang.org, the official website of the Go programming language, clicking on documents, and then going to the language specification. So this is where the language is specified. This is dense reading. Okay, so it's like you will understand this after you've programmed in Go for a year. You will understand 50, 60, 70% of this document. So when you first look at it, just know you are now entering real programming like of the highest order. And this is like some Japanese haiku that monks meditate upon for years to finally gain insight into what the great minds Rob Pike, Ken Thompson, Robert Gressmer, what they meant by that. So the language specification is one. And then I also will just do effective Go, right? And I'll come straight to effective Go. So when I go to the language specification, here it lists all the different topics. And the thing that I'm interested in is variables, right? Because Jeremy's question is like, how do we name variables? So I first come to the language spec. This is going to be more technical than effective Go. The spec is like language specification is kind of like here is the hardcore breakdown on how this language works. Effective Go is kind of like here are best practices and how in more normal language. But the interesting thing about the language spec, right, is a variable is a storage location for holding a value. Okay, that's not too complex, right? Holds a value, right? We said x is equal to 42. Y is equal to 49ers. The value was a number here when it was 42. It was a string when it was 49ers, right? So my code here, the value is a number. Here the value is a string. And we'll talk about the different types of numbers because Go is statically typed. Meaning if I create a variable which is a string, I then can't go y now equals 49. Go is going to say, you can't do that because y is a string. That has been declared. That's declared. You declared that. When we talk about programming and variables, we talk about declare, assign, initialize. You hear those words used. So declare means I am declaring. Let it be known. I am declaring there is a variable of name x. It is of type integer, and the value is 42. So I declare it. I'm declaring the variable is a variable of type integer. I assign it. I'm assigning the value 42 to it. I've declared this is holding ints, integers. I've declared this is holding strings. I've assigned 42 to it. I've assigned 49ers, the string 49ers to this one. And when you say initialize, I'm initializing x to 42 means I've declared and I've assigned it. So declare, assign, initialize, those are words you hear in relation to variables. It's a late class, just wake you up. Get me going. Right? So if I run this now, it's going to throw an error. And the error it throws is no new variables on the left side of that. Okay, cool. Because I'm trying to make that a new variable again, so I'm no longer going to use : equal. Colon equal is to declare. It's already been declared. Now I'm just going to reassign. It used to be y is 49ers. Now it's y is equal to the integer 49. Different data types. We can't mix our data types. You could go into the FAQ for Go, right? Frequently asked questions, and you could search static, and you could read like why is it static? And it's static. That basically means you can't be loosey-goosey. And like in JavaScript or other languages where, hey, I originally had y assigned to 49ers. Now y is assigned to the number 49. Whatever, man. That's like JavaScript. Static means you can't change the type of a variable once you've declared it. And that saves you from a lot of errors down the road that I'm not aware of because I didn't study computer science. That's just coming down from what I've read from people who are much smarter than me. So they say static is a better way to program, right? You can read about it. But, one of the errors was I can't reassign, so I fixed that. Let's run this again. And now cannot use 49 type int as a type string in assignment, right? On line 10. Let's just bring this together. Cannot use 49, line 10, so I'm on line 10. Cannot use 49, type int. This is an int. 49 is an integer. It's a number. If we look up what an integer is, right, it's going to give us a whole number, a number that's not a fraction. Cool, it's a whole number. -42, -3, 0, -7, 7, 19, integers, right? So it's a whole number. And you cannot use 49 type int as a type string, right? Because this wants a string. This has been declared to hold a value of type string. Okay? So that's important what you just learned. I can do this. I'm fine with that. I declared y to be a variable of type string, and then I assigned 49ers to it, the string 49ers to it on line 7. And then on line 10, I reassigned a new string to that variable. And, it has no problem with it. And you use the equal sign to reassign. So the language spec, right, tells us a little bit about how the language works. That's FAQ. Here's the language spec. And one of the things it shows us here is variables. Just reading this for a second. I thought I had the shorthand operator. Variables, variable naming, notation, short, and short variable declarations. Why wasn't I seeing that up here? Variable declarations. I needed variable declarations, not variables. So here's variable declarations up at the top. Variable declaration. So I just want to show you this in the index. All right, I was looking at variables. I needed variable declarations. And under variable declarations, we see the short variable declaration, right? Colon equal. And right, it has to be within a block. Anyhow, so that's not giving me my answer, like the naming conventions. So I come over to effective go. So the main things you're learning in this video, I went off on a little tangent about variables, declare, assign, initialize, and static and types, all really important, right? And we learned also golang.org, official website, and we learned the language specification, official documentation of the website of the language, and we also learned effective go, another place we look. And we saw that under golang.org we have the FAQ also in documents, FAQ, right here, where it's another great place to read about the language. Most of the stuff I'm going to try to keep you guys out of it and just show you how to use this stuff. But here, when we have a question like how do we check that, so we can look for names, and here we have an entire thing on names, package names, mixed caps. And so if we come down here, they're going to talk to us about how do we name stuff. And one of the things in Go is to keep things simple, keep it short. So if you have the scope of a variable and it's only going to be used within a narrow area, like right here, just X, Y, I, right? Just short. Because it's like you could see what it's doing. You declared it, used it, you're done with it, right? And if the farther away from where you create a variable to where it's being used, you want to give the name a little bit of something that tells you what it's for. And so make it as short as possible, but also descriptive. And it says here, let me find it here. The naming should be good, short, concise, evocative, right? So short, concise, and evocative should be your variable names. And if you need to use mixed caps, right? The convention goes to use mixed caps if you need more than one word. So camel case, right? Rather than underscores to write multiple word names. So don't use underscores. Long answer. What was your other question?
Is the package main related to the function?
Okay, so is package main related to function main? And I don't have a perfect answer for you off the top of my head, and I don't know where I'd look in the documentation, but this is just like going off of what I recall. So every Go program needs to have package main to execute, unless you're working on App Engine, which we're going to learn about, and you need func main, right? So you need to have package main. That's your main package. That's like where the program is going to start. And then you also need to have func main, and that's the main entry point within inside package main. And this is a function. When we declare functions in Go, we have the function, and then we have the receiver, and then we have the identifier, which is the name. So in this case, there is no receiver, and the identifier is main. And then we have the parameters. So if it takes any values coming into the function. And then we have the returns. So if it returns anything from the function. And then we have the code. So that's like a good thing for your notes right there. So func, receiver, identifier, parameters, returns. And that will make sense as we get going. But that's something you can refer back to. And I'll show you an example of that as soon as you write that down. So another thing that you'll find in documents at golang.org is package documentation. And so here are all the packages in the standard library. This is the standard library that's been written by the people who've written the language. So these are packages of code that's pre-written that you can use to do what you want to do, right? And so you need to be able to access that code and use it. And so packages will have functions in them, and you use those functions. I find Golang.org's website a little bit less user-friendly than another website that some random dude created called godoc.org. And so here's godoc.org, which has Go packages, right? And it will have both the standard library packages and third-party packages in godoc.org. So 3 resources that need to be in your notes, or a couple resources that need to be in your notes, are, I'm just wondering where I should write this. Well, I guess, you know, one of them is the Golang spec, right? Golang spec. That's one resource. And you'll sometimes check that out to learn about the language. And the other one is Effective Go. That's another resource. So you need to have that in your notes. And then another one is godoc.org. And so that's where you search for packages both in the standard library and third-party packages. Godoc.org. And so I could look at the func package. We use func print. I could look at the func package at golang.org, right? Or I could also look at the func package at godoc.org, right? Because golang.org has the standard library, and this dude built a website that also has the standard library packages, but also third-party packages. So in here, I could search for the func package, and there's the func package from the standard library. And package func implements formatted I/O. Package func implements formatted I/O with functions analogous to C's printf and scanf, right? And so that's package func. And so we were using func printline. And so if we go look at the index, we have func printline. That's fprint. Here's printline. Okay, func printline. Looks a little bit trippy. A ... interface, empty code block, int error. Huh. All we did was func printline and stick something in it, and it printed it. Right? We could go down, click on it, and we could read about it. Printline formats using default formats for its operands and writes to standard output, the terminal, right? Command line interface. Spaces are always added between operands, and a new line is appended. It returns the number of bytes written and any write error encountered. Well, we didn't catch any returns. I wonder if we could catch returns. That might be interesting. Bytes written. Just, I don't know. Just out of curiosity. N and E, number of bytes written, and that func printline Y. And then, well, we could just printline that stuff. I don't know if this will work. I've never done this. I might, you know, I mean, this is how I learned, right? Like, well, that's interesting. What does that do? Take this out for a moment. So N is 32 and E is nil. So we caught, right? Printline was saying right here, I return the number of bytes written and an error. And so I just used this colon equal for multiple assignments. Go has multiple returns. My returns here, you could return multiple things from a function. How cool is that? And so that becomes really a nice design feature because it allows you to no longer do the try-catch block of Java, which is so much junky code. And you still have to write this line, right, quite a bit. If error is not equal to nil, right, you could do log fatal. What is log fatal? Or we could just do func, well, log, I'll do func. Log, I'll do log printline, logging it. And there was an error, and I could print that error, and that would handle it, right? Or I could handle that error. So you handle the error right where it occurs. But multiple returns, right? Assigned to multiple variables. I could also do multiple variable assignment here. X, Y, 42, 49ers. Undefined N and E. And I have it down here assigning again, but I no longer print it out. That's kind of cool. So why don't you guys code? I've just talked for a little bit. And I answered Jeremy's question about variable naming. And I also, did you have another question? You had variable naming. And did I get both your questions already?
I was just wondering if the package main was related.
Oh, package main and func main. Yeah, so that's package main, func main. You need those in your programs to make your executable. Okay, so to do another assignment where you declare and assign to two things. Change your code so you're declared and assigned to two things. Like that, same time.